Hello everybody and welcome back to another long overdue episode of Boyographic. To refresh both our memories, it's a show in which I, Matt the Gameboy, take you through the highs and lows of the Game Boy library, one cart at a time. As promised many moons ago, this episode is on Out to Lunch. Whenever I pick up a Game Boy game to review recently, I think about an article written by one Patrick Klepek of Vice Gaming's Waypoint site called In Defense of Bad Games. The gist of the article is essentially, it's only in knowing bad games and picking apart why you find them frustrating, you gain an appreciation of the good. More than this, Klepek is also keen to point out that the bad games might be bad, but it doesn't stop them from having interesting ideas. It's a great article and you should take the time to read it if you can. But it is true that in this exploration of the bad, you gain a better understanding of what makes a good game, and that's how I justify playing half of the Wii and PS2 shovelware titles I own. With this in mind, Game Boys and Girls, let's talk about Mindscape's 1993 action platformer, Pierre Le Chef Is Out to Lunch. From the offset, Out to Lunch may look like your run-of-the-mill arcade-style action platform game with similar visual aesthetics to games like Bubble Bobble. Just like the exploits of Bub and Bob, the goal of Out to Lunch is to clear out the enemies to progress to the next level. Unfortunately, this is where the comparison ends. This game features side and vertical scrolling as opposed to a single screen, not to mention some of the most irritating mechanics that I have ever experienced in a video game. The story is a very simple one. You are simply a chef that one day when opening the fridge, all of your food escaped. Therefore, you need to go round it back up. To do this, however, is easier said than done, as you start each level completely ill-equipped to deal with the capture of culinary convicts, and must start the game's 40 levels by searching for a net and a weapon, like a bag of flour or flamethrower hot sauce. Once Pierre is armed with the correct tools, you set out and search the level for the required number of food-based foes to lock them up in a cage. Once you've imprisoned the ingredients, you can start to search for an exit. While me saying this to you may seem an incredibly straightforward way to conduct gameplay, what you might have noticed from the size of the sprites is that the game offers an incredibly small view of each level. You can't pause the game to look around, so you've no indication where the net or next enemy is in proximity to your character, and you're on an incredibly short timer, the ticking down of which will result in your immediate death and restarting the whole level again. Tally-ho, I hear you cry. I love a good challenge. Well, what if I told you that you only had 3 lives to finish the entire bloody game? Now you're starting to catch on. The lack of environmental awareness, the short timer, and the limited lives are a pain in the ass enough. Factor into the equation, taking a hit will see you lose 2 vegetables you've not been able to cage up, meaning you're gonna need to backtrack to catch the enemies again, and you're beginning to understand why this game is more than just a little bit frustrating. However, if this wasn't off-putting enough, let me tell you about how to capture the food. You can either jump on their head, or if you've been lucky enough to pick up a projectile weapon, you can press B to throw it at an enemy. However, getting out your net to swing it at the enemy requires you to fully stop, hold down B, and then swing at the appropriate timing. It's absolutely insane, and generally speaking, leads to you getting hurt more often than not. The game takes place across 5 locations: Switzerland, Greece, the West Indies, Mexico, and of course, France. The locations do get a little bit of set dressing, but with 8 levels apiece on the Game Boy's limited palette, means you're getting very little visual variety in the levels. There are also some smashing environmental hazards to mix up the gameplay, such as the ice in the Switzerland stages that are just really there as a warning for you to turn off the game as fast as possible. There are also bonus levels between stages, but unfortunately, points don't mean prizes here, so unless you're extremely lucky to find one in a level, your chances of getting an extra life are extremely slim. If you can't tell by how blunt I'm being, Out to Lunch is not a great game. While definitely it has some nice sprite work, its music and the ideas the game recycles really are plain average. What really stops this game from being one of the bad games worth playing that Klepek discusses in his article, however, is the simple disrespect of a player's time. The lives, level structure and timer are a source of infinite frustration, with sheer disregard for the Game Boy's small screen being the kiss of death on what could have been a try it if you're curious recommendation from me. When playing the SNES or Amiga ports of this game after beating the Game Boy title, however, I realised why I'm so negative on the portable Pierre. The levels are essentially direct ports. They took a Super Nintendo game and tried to take the chunky sprite style and what are generally pretty straightforward and enjoyable levels on a home console version and tried to squeeze them down into a 160 by 144 pixel screen, making Pierre essentially unplayable to your average portable punter. If you're going to play a version of this game for your own sake, please let it either be on the Super Nintendo or the Amiga, as not only do they play much better, but the frantic pace actually makes sense when you can see the recipe to success for each level. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed. Again, sorry about the delay in this one. It will be explained in an upcoming State of the Nation video. But until then, why not check out some more of our Boyographic videos if you're new to the channel. Some Boy Curious videos where I look at bootlegs and oddies, and All the Glory, where I play through the games, cutting out all the deaths, leaving you none of the faff and all the glory. Until next time I make a video, folks, you can find me on Twitter at Gameboy and Facebook and Instagram at the same place. Until then, though, be sure, Game Boys and girls, to game on.